Welcome to another episode, everyone. This individual survived 50 years in prison, including ADX Florence. He's home now. What is he going to do with his life now that he is home? 50 years in prison. How did he survive it? Let's get into it.
I'm in ADX Supermax in Colorado. So I go up to SIP sales, Zach, and he standing at the bar. He said, "What's up, man?" I said, "Man, I'm going home." He said, "Man, get there." I said, "I just talked to the Lord." He said, "That's what you was on the phone running about?" I said, "Yeah." Zach, he started crying. He said, "Slim, you going in the street for real?" I said, "Man, I'm going home." I started crying, Zach. So I go back downstairs and I call home. I told my daughter. I said, "Babe, I'm coming home." She said, "For real, Dad?" I said, "I'm coming home, man." I said, "Call the lawyer so they can tell you." She called the lawyer, so now they coordinating how I'm come home, where I'm gonna live. So the government, not so fast. Your Honor, read this guy's indictment. He had people stabbed. He put contracts out on people. He ran the whole D.C. Department of Correction. He had the warden staff working for him. He married a sergeant. He made babies in jail. He had women bringing him drug smugglers. But he supposed to do that. But anytime, then they start writing magazines on his act. Don Diva. There's 100 watching. So when they do your background, they talk about your whole criminal history. And they bring up your old cases, right? So while I'm waiting to come home, Zach, and these magazine stuff coming out, my best friend, who's writing me and taking care of me, say, "Y'all got YouTube?" "What is YouTube?" He trying to tell me that a dude out of Michigan is talking crazy about me on YouTube is slandering my name. I said, but he ain't tell me over the phone. He just kept saying, "Y'all can't see it." I said, "What is it? We ain't got no YouTube up here in Colorado." I said, "Why?" He said, "Don't worry about it." He's offended that this dude is talking about me and slandering my name. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they have no YouTube. We just cover ADX Florence, America's, worst prison. And it's very secure there. They have no cell phones. They have no YouTube there at ADX Florence, where this individual, and his name is Fly, and this is where he was at. I believe he's from D.C., because he spoke about the D.C. blacks and versus the Aryan Brotherhoods, I suppose, in one of the prisons that he was in. I could be wrong, but I know the title at least said that he spoke on that issue. So I'm not sure exactly where he was from, but his name is Fly. So with a name like that, perhaps somewhere around that area. Nevertheless, he did 50 years in prison, and he's home now, and he's describing how they tried to keep him in prison, describing all of his deeds while he was there during that 50 years. You know, he married a sergeant, he ran the yard, he had individuals stabbed, etc. So I suppose he's some sort of boss or some sort of big fella wherever he is from. But he indeed did eventually make it out, as we can see. He is home now, so I suppose whatever they did to try to keep him in there did not work because he made it out. Congratulations to him. That's a hell of a feat, doing 50 years behind bars, regardless of what it was for, and surviving it and coming home, particularly, a prison like ADX Florence. But there you see his friend telling him about a YouTube beef or about some individual there on YouTube speaking about him or speaking bad about him while he was in prison doing 50 years. What could you have to, YouTube wasn't thought about 50 years ago. What could you have to say about him now on YouTube when he had been locked up for 50 years? But nevertheless, you see his friend is speaking with him about it and having a problem with this individual talking about him on YouTube. This internet stuff and this internet beef is going to get someone hurt yet, unfortunately. And let's hope that that's not the case. But here this man is doing 50 years in prison and trying to come home and waiting to come home. And he has to listen to his friend on the phone telling him, "Man, you got YouTube? Somebody on YouTube speaking bad about you." Like, dang, man, I ain't made it home. Been here 50 years. I'm trying to get out. Just somebody on the internet talking crazy. This internet.
So every time I call him, he say, "You sure y'all can't get YouTube?" Man, he's heated. But I found out him and a lot of people says, "Man, this dude saying all kinds of crazy stuff about me." So I get a letter from Eon. And send me some pictures. I ain't seen Eon since he's 5 years old, since he's a little boy. His father was my man, and his mother was my. So I don't tell Eon I'm coming home. I told my daughter and my nephew, don't tell nobody I'm coming home. Got a lot of them is that. He's a man from 73. But I done punched a lot of dudes that. A lot of dudes don't like me, a lot of dudes scared of me. But I ain't aware of this internet. I ain't know nothing about no Instagram. I watch Judge Mass. I just see people going and say, I met her on Facebook. I don't even know what Facebook and YouTube is at. I'm telling you, I come in 73, Zach. We ain't had no cell phones. I had a cell phone in the Lord. No, I had a beeper. No, Zach. No, Zach. The government is fighting to keep me from coming home, man. So the judge ain't hearing none of it. The government had one last trick. They say, Your Honor, he never made parole off his DC time. But me and the guy got the light. So the judge said, I can't let him go until he make parole on his DC time. Because I've been refusing to see the parole board for 15 years. You know why is that? Because people say, don't go up for parole because they're going to keep giving you set-offs. Wait till you get that federalized sentence back. Because I always knew I was going to get it back, Zach. I always knew it. I felt it. So I kept on denying to see the DC parole board because they keep setting me off. So my lawyers, 2 white females in Virginia, say you got to see the parole board. We're going to send you an application, put in to see the next parole board from DC. So the judge can let you come on. I fill it out. I tell the counsel, I want to see the next time parole board come up here from DC. Put me on the list. So my 2 white lawyers got me a black lawyer in DC to represent me on the parole board. Elmore Collar, bad sister. Pro-black, love brother. So she called me, Zach, and she said, this is what we got to do to prepare you for the parole board. I said, I know I represent myself. She said, man, just follow this, go along with how I want to do things. I said, I'm prepared for this. I said, I've been waiting for this all my life. But we get cool because she called me every week. We get a friendship. I see the parole board on my birthday, Zach. And the guy talked crazy to me. He said, they say you a leader of DC blacks. I said, ain't nobody leader. I'm a Muslim. I said, I'm a mentor to these young guys. I'm educating these guys. I go to school. I got 58 classes from educators. I had to humble myself. You know what I mean? I had to sell myself to this guy, Zach. You can't come across arrogant or you can't come across like, you know what I mean? You have to humble yourself. I said, sir, I done lost my mother. My oldest daughter got killed. I said, I just lost 2 of my sisters. My sister, my best friend, just died. I said, man, my children need me. My grandchildren, I got grandchildren I never met. I say, but man, he said, you a mentor to these? I said, I mentor these young guys because I don't want to see them follow the footsteps I'm at. I don't want these young guys to run their time up. He said, I was going to give you a set-off. He said, but I'm going to go ahead and parole you to your detainment. He don't know, Zach, once he paroled me to that detainment, I'm coming home. He think he going to parole me to a life with no parole and I'm going to be in jail the rest of my life. He don't even know I got a motion in court. Wait, you just following it? So He said, I'm going to parole you to your other life sentence. I said, yeah, I'm still going to be doing life. All right. Soon as he did that, the judge said, I'm letting him go home. Zach, I'm coming in the street, man. I'm coming in the street. My family excited, so words started slipping out. So my best friend I told you, they kept asking about you.
So he's blessed. You're blessed anyway after doing 50 years in prison and making it home. OG here, as I suspected, indeed is associated or whatever, if you will, with the DC Blacks. They accused him of being the leader of the DC Blacks, the individual there at the parole board or what have you. But it's a blessing for him to make it home, regardless of why he was in there or what the situation is, whether he was supposed to come home or not, because not everyone makes it out of there. He indeed did make it home. And the fact that they were trying to keep him in there, coming up with all of these things to keep him in there, he should be extra excited and feel blessed that he made it out of that situation, and certainly should be doing exactly what it is that he told that individual that he was doing, which was mentoring the youth. Hopefully he didn't say that just as a means to get out of the situation that he was in, and instead means that to his core and will do things to help move the community along. But let's see what he says. Let's see what he has to say about what he has been doing since he has been home.
Said, man, you coming home? I said, don't tell nobody. He said, man, you gonna be out here with me, man. We've been knowing each other since 14 years old, juvenile. So the warden came to my cell, Zach, in July. The judge put the order in March 15th, 2022. 2022 March, the judge say, I'm releasing him to a halfway house. Find a halfway house to accept him in Virginia. So my lawyers is trying to find out what part of Virginia I'm gonna go to. And I'm pressing the warden every week, man, when you gonna let me go? Y'all gotta find a halfway house. So in July, he say, the paperwork just came through, you leaving next week. Where you wanna go? Maryland, Virginia. I said, man, send me to Virginia. Silk started crying. Hoover, watered up. You know what I mean? Everybody used the flight, you going home? I gave all my stuff away. My baby face, my son-in-law, sent them all my stuff. And I left in July, man, and it took me to a halfway house after I made the little stop in Love Spur. In July, man, I made it to the street. After 49 years in prison. I did 9 months in the halfway house and made 50 years. My man Eon drove down there to see me, gave me $1,000. First $1,000 I had since '94. I mean, in my hand. You know what I mean? I had money on the book. Took me to a 5-star restaurant. I said, man, you little Eon? And man, he has stuck with me ever since. My god brother, my best friend I told you about. So then I become aware of this YouTube stuff, and this how people be on there talking crazy about you. But here's the things that, being honest with you. See, this internet is a monster. It is a blessing and is a curse. Because people will say anything they want to say about you. And people don't know no better. They believe some of this stuff. They believe stuff. You know what I'm saying? I can turn on YouTube right now and find out something about Beyonce or Simone Biles or anybody. But there's always some falsehood mixed in with the truth. You know what I mean? You can hear about a celebrity, Michael Jordan or Jay-Z or anybody. You can learn anything on YouTube, how to cook, about raise a dog. But when it comes to people like us and people with podcasts, you gonna have some haters. You gonna have some people that love you, support you. You gonna have some punks that can't stand you. You gonna have people like, but I get it. Everybody ain't gonna like it. And if this is somebody hustle, or if this is how people get their money, by lying, exact. They just said I had a husband. Exact. They said I was raping boys. And it said all kinds of stuff. But you have to have tough skin, because otherwise you'll go crazy believing that stuff. But here's the bad thing though. I got daughters, granddaughters. So when they hear says, but my family, everybody was in jail with me know about my case and know what really happened. So people know you can't be a rapist in jail and think people gonna respect you. But if people know what really happened and, and people say, man, he was there, but, you know what I mean? And the dude ain't no pump. The dude is a killer. You know what I mean? But sometimes, if you go on the cable, man, something happen, don't pose to happen. I could have took the 5 to 15 and came home in 76, but I probably would have been dead years ago. I probably got killed a year if I was home. Because my mindset at the time was, I probably went out and started sticking up against that. I know I would have. I was still young, still had a lot of heart, still was crazy. You know what I mean? Love to fight. I would have went on there, would have killed me. But Allah knows this. Allah got a plan for all of us in our lifetime. Don't nobody know we gonna lead us ever but God. I had the ghost of everything. The only thing hurt me, young brother, is my mother didn't live to see me come home. My sister didn't live. My oldest daughter was killed. A lot of my aunts and uncles who took care of me and supported me is gone. My kids growed up, you know what I mean? But I'm free. I'm home, and I'm grateful. So let the haters hate. Let the haters hate. We gonna keep doing what we do. You know what I mean? I'm enjoying my life, man. And I appreciate you giving me this opportunity, man. I mean, I appreciate what you're doing, man, and I hope good things happen for you. I hope good things happen for me, man. And one day I want to do a documentary, write my book about my life story. Then hopefully we can get it on the big screen. You know what I mean? So we got to keep doing what we're doing, man. But I'm so thankful you want to do this with me. I appreciate it. We got to stay in touch, man.
All right, there you have it. Fly. Probably his name is DC Fly. I don't know. I don't want to put, extras on his name. It just says Fly there. But clearly from DC, out of DC, did 50 years in prison. And as he said, he's home now. But as he said there towards the end, look at how many people he lost. By the time he came home, his mother was gone, had passed. Aunties, uncles who were taking care of him, I'm sure early on, the first 5, 10 years of him in prison, 15, 20 years. We're talking about 50 years in there, 49 years. They can only hang in there for so long. And if he's, this much older now, how old were they when he went into prison? So he survived 50 years in prison, able to preserve himself, was apparently very young when he first went in, which means he spent the vast majority of his life in prison. His family, they were probably a little older by the time he had already went in there. His aunts and uncles and mother, or what have you, certainly older than him. So they didn't have 50 years left in them. By the time he comes home, he has no family left, essentially, A lot of people have passed away. And this is the ramifications of our decisions. I don't know his story or why he was in prison. Doesn't matter. Whatever he was in there for, if he was guilty of it, he gave up his life for 50 years and never got to see his mother again in a free world. I'm in the same position. So I understand how that goes. And it's just not worth it. Whatever the situation that we may find ourselves involved in, it's not worth giving up our lives for. Shout out to to this individual here, Fly. I'm glad that he made it out of there. I'm glad that he made it out of prison in one piece. He seems to have all of his faculties, seems to be bright, intelligent, articulate, calm, and peaceful for someone having experienced a terrible place like prison for 50 years, which is beset with violence, prison. And he was supposedly a shot caller involved in all of this stuff. So he was deeply involved in the prison and prison politics. Somehow he was able to make it out because not everyone does, particularly now after 49 years. Some people can't last 49 days and 49 months. It's just not happening for various reasons. But he was able to make it. Shout out to him. Glad he made it home. Stay free, brother. Fly, stay out. I don't have to tell him, he's older than me. I don't have to tell him that it's not worth it, that nothing is worth his freedom. And going back, he made it home. He's been home apparently for a few years now. And I'm sure he realizes how blessed he is. He just said, hey, I'm free. I lost a lot of people. I lost a lot of family members, but I'm free. And then to survive ADX Florence on top of that. But you can see that the YouTube, the internet stuff, it is bothering him some. He says you have to have tough skin. The same thing Big Meech said and other individuals, because individuals just coming out putting dirt on you, serious allegations, snitch allegations, and this and that. And with him, he said that he supposedly had a husband and all kinds of stuff they didn't put on him. Whoever, I don't know, someone on YouTube apparently made videos on him, talking about him before he even got out of prison. It's a tough game. Sometimes we think that our content doesn't have an effect on people, but it does. We have to be careful. I have to be careful as well about my content because, like say you make content about Beyonce, as he said, Jay-Z or whatever, you may think, well, this is not going to affect them. They don't know me. They'll never see this content. This channel is too small for them to be concerned about. They're billionaires. They ain't not worried about it. But you never know what can get back to them. And it's just the fact that people are piling on. And these people are human beings too. Just because they're celebrities doesn't mean that they're not. So, just have to be careful, period, because as we can see, the content does have an effect on people. People speaking about you, putting rumors on you, allegations, accusations. Yeah, this stuff can get nasty. And people are bothered by it, understandably. Let me know what you think in the comments. Welcome home, brother, and stay free. Everyone else, stay safe and stay free. People.